Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokémon Ranger. In the last part, we went about a good half a Fiore, grabbing Pokemon we were missing for our browser, because we're getting down to the end of that. And now we're gonna go finish the browser off. The game's not done after today, but we're getting pretty close. With that said, I did have to quickly do a jump cut there, because in order to reach some of the Pokemon here in Croca Tunnel, you do need Cross in some form. I went all the way back to the Waterworks for a Tangela, but I could actually recommend just heading back to the hidden Bulbasaurs and Ivysaurs over in Lyra Forest instead. That's a lot shorter of a trip and a lot less backtracking. So now that we crossed over into the far western portion of Panula Cave, Croca Tunnel, there are two pathways you can take, north and south. I don't have the abilities to go up north yet. In my field moves yet. So we're gonna come down here instead and find ourselves a Dugtrio. If you remember what I said about Diglett a long time ago in this LP, it's more or less the same thing. Hides under the water, does several dips up and down before standing still for a few moments in order to take it a couple of loops in. In some regards, it's pretty similar to the Rush/Mole virus in the Battle Network games. As long as you're patient with this and do your loops quickly, but never take your stylus off, this shouldn't be too troublesome, because it doesn't have an attack, and I think it also takes a long time to run away compared to most Pokemon in the game otherwise. Dugtrio occasionally pops its head out of the ground, but only very briefly. Let's see, the entry's 203, we are technically at 208 at the moment, 202 at the moment, because we've seen Snorlax, but we haven't captured it yet for reasons. And for now, at least, that's going to be all of our things we're going to get done here at Croca Tunnel. Next up, we're going to be heading back to Panula Cave through the Wind Town side of things with a very specific party. For what we're going to be doing moving forward, you're going to want some high power water, fire, but especially rock smash moves and cross. Rock smash, fire, and cross are what you're really going to need here in Panula Cave. Our destination is a door we've technically seen on screen before, I just didn't comment on. And in order to reach it, we need to go melt the ice to the south of the final save point here near the two golems, and go along this path. I do recommend before you melt this ice using the save point up there to save, in the case that you run out of Pokecysts to help you with what's coming up, or more commonplace in the case you get a game over, because things can be tough here. It is also a puzzle to find out how to get there, because not only do you need certain abilities, there's dead ends here that take you the wrong direction. If you fall down any of the holes except for the one I just uncovered, you go back through the slide that leads back towards the Swinub and Loudred area, where we first met Alita several parts ago. But now that we have Tangela on top of the Pokemon we've already used, we can cross over here and fall down this hole to find ourselves at the door in question. When you're ready, enter and prepare for a fight, because, well, you didn't think the Hoenn Trinity and the Johto legendary beasts were all the legendaries in the game, did you? Hidden throughout various caves in the game are the three Regis from Hoenn, and starting off, we got Regice here. Regice, it's... I might not say ground on, but I've always said Regice just because of the Lucario movie. Regice's main attack is to summon several stalagmites made of ice from the ground at random from across the field. It has a good amount of HP, but if you stun it well, it'll go down pretty quickly. It's the easiest of the three. Regice sticks its frigid hands in the ground to make ice pillars thrust up. Pretty decent attack power though, be careful of it. With that said, as you can see, the Regis don't exactly have field moves for the most part. They're more for just browser completion than anything. So now we're back where we started the video. We're back in that one part of Croca Tunnel, but we specifically have 4 Rock Smash 3s, 2 crosses through Tangelas, Ivysaurs, Bulbasaurs, whatever you need, and 1 Cut 3, which I have to the Absol over in Panula Cave that we caught, I think that was last time. Because in order to get the next Regi, we need to go north along this path and use these abilities in a very specific way. For instance, we got all these rocks here, but you don't need to destroy all the rocks. You need to kind of pull a bit of a... This is going to be a very bizarre comparison. That one room in Goron City in Ocarina of Time, that's a bunch of rocks that you get the ability to break or lift as you go through the game, but you don't need to break them all in order to get all the rewards. It's one of those situations. This could arguably be the hardest of the 3 Regis, because since you need the entire party of 7 Pokemon in order to actively reach it, you're not going to be able to prep any good Poke Assists going into the fight. And Minun and Plusle, they can help a bit, but they only go so far. You will probably die fighting this Regi, to be completely frank. This is one I had to do several retakes of until I basically got the perfect run, it feels like, because otherwise, good luck with that. Also, there's a Tangle so you can get out of here. It's time for Registeel. Registeel can be rough. Its main attack is to rain down several iron balls from the top of the screen that will then roll randomly across it. It's pretty neutral to Plusle and Minun, but since that's the only Poke Assist you're going to have coming into here, that's probably a kindness on the game's part so you can actually have a chance to capture it, because that is easily the hardest one without doing that. Registeel brings down a steady shower of metal balls to impede capture. That fight sucks. I made that look easy. That fight took about 20 minutes to record plus. So now we're back at the halfway point near the end of the Sekra Ranges Forest section, because I needed to recapture that Altaria we captured as part of the main story, because one of the few remaining Pokemon requires a level 3 Gust to become available. Otherwise, what you're going to need at least a Pokemon with Water 1, you're going to need Fire 3, and you're going to need Rock Smash 3 at least once. I could recommend twice. I could also recommend going to get an extra water Pokemon, particularly one that has a level 3, or at least a high-level water Pokemon for a good Poke Assist. Starting off, though, we got these flowers here. The huge flowers. Use Altaria on them. If you remember the Gloom we got last time, you might be able to figure out what this is. It's time for Vileplume. I love this sprite. It's adorable. Vileplume's main attack is the same as Gloom's. It spreads poison around a pretty wide radius in comparison, and it does a lot more damage, and it just has more health. I could recommend bringing in a separate Fire Poke Assist to help capture this if you're doing this at this point instead of grabbing it earlier, because I think you can grab this as soon as your first trip here if you go back and grab the Altaria again in the main plot. I've just never done that, so I don't know. From the center of the flower on its head, Vileplume spews clouds of spores. So you remember this rock? I pointed this rock out much earlier in the LP. Behind this rock, which you need a high-level Rock Smash to break, lies a vine you need to use a low-level water effect on, thankfully. And then above this platform is a rock wall I need to break that I think requires at least a Rock Smash of 2, which is why I had 2 of them. And within the cave that's up there, we're going to need to melt some ice with the Blaziken. I do want to warn you, though, the reason I bring up using the fire this early, even though we haven't seen the Ice Cube yet, within this cave are Ghost-type Pokemon from the Ghastly line. So if you're not careful, any Pokemon you're planning to use to make the remaining Regi easier, if you can figure out what type it's going to be ahead of time, because, well, we've seen the other 2 already, be wary of the Ghastlies in here, because they might mess up your day and ruin your plans. And if they ruin your plans this late and you want to go back and get the other Pokemon, these items are going to respawn, so you have to get the entire party again, and that just sucks. Unless you saved elsewhere otherwise first, at least. Behind this final door, of course, is Regirock. Not the best sprite of it, admittedly, but Regirock doesn't really look good in most of its sprites. So we're going to make Regirock pretty easy because of the Vileplume I just got, stunning it well enough. Regirock summons rocks from the ceiling that will then crash down and split into several pieces. And that's what I've talked about several times in this LP, where sometimes even when you fully complete a capture, captures just won't finish. There it is again. I think this is because you finish your capture in the middle of certain attack animations that the boss is otherwise immune during. We even saw a little bit of that where captures didn't count during Regice, I believe. Regirock brings down a shower of large boulders after a ground-shaking jump. And that's all 3 Regis. We're going to keep Regirock for a little bit, but it's not very useful. So there's no new Pokemon in the Fiore Temple, but I feel I might as well show this off. If you come over to the pyramid at any point after the main story, but I think you may need to finish the post-story as well. This dude's here. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sleeping. I'm the drowsy man. I think I know you. You. Just for being you, I'll let you experience some nostalgic captures. Well, before you go, I'll have to tell you, you can only take 3 friend Pokemon to the nostalgic capture place. And when you're finished, you have to release every Pokemon. Would you like to experience the nostalgic captures anyway? What this dude is talking about is if you ever wanted to refight the 3 Johto legendary beasts, Raikou, Legendary, Raikou, Suicune, or Entei, you can do that. You can't take them out of it, but you can do it for whatever reason if you wanted to, even if it's just to, like, do it even for experience, maybe. But it is there. So, if you've been following along with this LP, you should be at about 207 out of 210-ish Pokemon throughout the Fiore region. The next Pokemon is only found in the Go-Rock Squad base. But the Go-Rock Squad base is a little interesting in the post-story, in that when you revisit it, it is destroyed from the explosion. You cannot explore the entire area, even. The red security panels we avoided during our first visit through here, you can only go as far as the final room with those. And there are some pretty decent Pokemon to get in here for Poke Assists, namely the entire Beldum line is here, which is good for Psychic stuff. But you can also grab yourself a Tyranitar if you wanted to. This is why some Pokemon like Blaziken, Swampert, and all them were moved around in the post-story because you can no longer capture them in the areas you found them around here. But you can still get Electabuzz here. But of course, I said the entire Beldum line is here, and that of course includes the final member of it, Metagross, who I'm being very specific to try and only encounter at least 2 of those Pokemon because those 2 Beldums seldom leave its side. So get this, Metagross is powerful. It has a very slow Hyper Beam attack, but it's also got a metric shitload of health at almost 30 loops, some of the highest in the game. Thankfully, having a ghost Pokemon that you just captured in the same room can nullify the challenge of it because you can keep it stunned in place for long enough. Metagross fires a Calamitous Beam. Its power is overwhelming. And we're now done here in the Go-Rock Squad base. We never need to come here again. But you don't need to go far for the final 2 Pokemon. In fact, the Metagross will actually help us out with that. The next Pokemon we need to get is in the very early sections of the Sekra Forest just north of Windtown. And in order to get there, we're just going to cut back here because you don't need to see the backtracking point here. You might remember the exact space where we found Arbok in this area much earlier in the LP towards the end of the main story. Something I didn't show off, and you might even be able to open this at the time, is that there's a rock wall just here you need a level 3 crash in order, rock smash in order to break. Actually, no, I think by that point you wouldn't be able to break this yet. Destroy this wall, and behind it is going to be our 209th Pokemon, Kangaskhan. I love this sprite of Kangaskhan. Less so for the main mom itself, but more for the baby, because whenever the mom attacks, which is a Hyper Beam, the baby crawls out of the pouch and hides behind it, and that's so adorable. Thankfully, despite its power, Kangaskhan doesn't take too many loops, so you don't need to worry too much about it. Kangaskhan emits a ray from its mouth that can obliterate anything. You notice how many of these high-level Pokemon have Rock Smash level 3? It's kind of overwhelming. So now, if you've been following along, you should have 209 out of 210-ish, and there is a reason I keep saying ish, but we'll cover that starting next part. You should have 209 out of the 210 Pokemon in the Fiore region browser. But you've already seen, if you've clicked on at least the 210th. We have to go capture Snorlax still. But there's a reason I waited on this. You actively cannot attempt to capture Snorlax until you have 209 of the 210 Pokemon. They're always the last one. It's astounding the Snorlax in the cave is finally awakened. It's like a dream how the perpetually sleepy Snorlax emerged from the land of dreams. So, very quickly, proof of concept, if we check our browser, 209 out of 210-ish entries. It's time for our final challenge, which we're kind of over-prepared for at this point. Despite Snorlax being always the last Pokemon of the main browser, it's not a lot to write home about. It's a pretty slow Pokemon, but whenever it lays down on the ground, it falls asleep and does a shockwave. But whenever it's asleep, it leaves itself pretty open for extra loops. I shouldn't have used the Ghost type Pokeassist though, because, get this, Ghost type doesn't affect normal and vice versa. Now Psychic. Psychic's good here. If anything, in some regards, you can look at Snorlax as more of a victory lap. And I think that's the best way to do so, because at this point, you've gone through the worst of it. Snorlax is a massive and heavy Pokemon that is always sleeping. The browser is now complete. I love that jingle. Let's get out of here. Time for our final text message. From Spencer to Kyle, the Ringtown Ranger Base just received an emergency report from the Ranger Union. It said a certain ranger had finally completed a browser that catalogs every Pokemon in the Fiore region. I was blown away. I mean, a certain ranger? Kyle, the Union was reporting about you. This is big news. Please come to the Ringtown Ranger Base as soon as you can. I can't wait to get a look at your completed browser. Oh wow, everyone's here. Kyle, you're the first ranger to ever complete the browser in this region. As a leader, I feel deeply honored and proud knowing that there's a ranger like you among us. This certificate is awarded only to rangers who complete their browser. You've earned this. Take it. That's it. At least it's a badge. You've received a certificate of completion. We're technically only 99% done, though. Ugh. Congratulations, Kyle. Honestly, I'm glad I had enough sense to certify you as a ranger. Seriously, thank you. Congratulations, Kyle. You've gotten the better of me again. The text is automatically scrolling here, by the way. I can't have you showing me up this way. I'll have to work that much harder at being a ranger. Kyle, let me put your marvelous achievement in perspective. Let me give you a simile. Your achievement is like a nighttime storm's... no, like a hamburger's... I can't seem to think of an appropriate simile, but let that not bother you. Your achievement is colossal. Your desire to learn more about Pokemon. And your compassion toward Pokemon. If either of those things were missing, I doubt that your fantastic achievement would have come true. Kyle, congratulations. It just goes to show how Spencer can spot good recruits. I'll have to send you a gift to celebrate your mighty feat, friend. Oh, no, don't worry about it. I want to send you a gift. Congratulations. You finally won recognition as a top-class ranger in title and in deed. But you know... I've never seen Spencer so delighted that way. I just want to say, constellations, considerations, I think I'm more giddy than you. Congratulations. You know, this makes me happy too. Almost as if it were about me. Subtle. But you know, I bet the happiest one among us is Minen. After all, it was with you before you even became a ranger, Kyle. Isn't that so, Minen? Yeah, that's right, buddy. You're damn right I'm going to record my activities because we're now done with the main game. You no longer need to load your main save file. Everything we're going to do from here on can be done from the title screen. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 24, I guess we're starting the post game? Question mark? The RangerNet, either way. See you guys then.